the weather company has been in its existence for over 44 years, and it's been almost 4 years since IBM acquired it and started moving it around beyond the global markets to places like India. And when we talk about the weather company, we are really talking about very precise decision oriented forecast. What we're really saying is that we can predict weather 15 days in advance for a 500 by 500 square meter area, and we can update that every 15 minutes with the capability of our ensemble of our models which we have. With the ability of having IBM research at our hand, we then started looking at what could we study as a challenge in Indian agriculture, and then what are the key areas we need to really look at. Now, when we did our survey, and this really started 3 years ago, we really looked at some of the Kisan call center data, and we figured out that more than 60% of queries of farmers in the calling is coming as the weather information. Now, that really got us a clue that, when it is about precipitation, rain during monsoon or otherwise, the farmers really want precise information when it will rain. It may be probabilistic. It may never be 100% correct, but if they have a high probability of trust on some technology or some app or some advisory, they will then orchestrate their decisions with that. Mm-hmm. So that is where we really focused. And I can proudly say that in 3 years, we have built in a lot of capabilities in IBM weather company to really conquer the tropics weather. India has so many tropic zones. To be honest, Ritwik, every weather provider is doing a great job. They're doing a lot of research. So we respect all of them when we meet each other in the market or compete. But the reality is that with the ability of us to really understand the volume and the velocity of data in a weather kind of scenario, and this whole legacy of so many years in this business, serving really big markets with so many users. Our app is used by more than 400 million users every day. The opportunity we have is that we get tremendous amount of feedback, and we keep improving on our science capabilities. So with more than 70 meteorologists, with more than 160 weather models, and doing an ensemble, and always trying to look at what are the new technology frontiers we can meet. Like, for example, we announced a global atmospheric forecasting system, which is called GRAPH, which is essentially, earlier we used to map the atmosphere at a 15-kilometer grid, and then zoom down to a 500-meter, advisory. If you look like, people using Apple phone or a Samsung phone, both the phones get data from us. That's our data, which comes in their weather report. Mm-hmm. And the weather channel, it's the one which I said it's fairly well downloaded. And when we talk about the apps, we have companies in agri-tech in India. So, for example, AgroStar, which is very popular in West. We have RML, which is also very popular in West and Central India. Mm-hmm. And few other companies in agri-tech who are now taking agri-based data sets. So in all, when we do a statistics run, I'm told for last 2 years, we are actually running at a number one position amongst around 10 apps which are popular in India. Data about the farm to a farmer, but what is the missing link thereafter is that someone will have to use that data to advise the farmer on what he or she has to do on a crop or a situation. Mm-hmm. Now that is a bit which has to come as an advisory from an agro expert or an agri scientist. Mm-hmm. So what we are doing is we are tying up with companies who are into FPO engagement, which goes about taking care of all the bits about the FPO, right from financing, advisory, markets making, matchmaking of their sales. So there are a couple of very interesting business enterprises which are now catering to FPOs, and we are working very closely with them. But directly to the farmers at the moment, we don't think we're really ready to take care of those individuals. it's like a Visibic, GIS based weather monitoring tool, where you can get down to a field, you can get down to a road, and you can actually see what is the forecast coming in as either a cloud formation or a rain precipitation, and you can get a view of 24 hours or 48 hours of what it would be like. Now, essentially, what we did was we opened it up to our farm agri-tech community, and what we encouraged them to do was during pandemic and monsoon coming in together, we wanted them to really look at what could be a place with perils on weather, though they would have some applications to forecast. But this was really in your face on a map with all the data and visual form to take decisions. So a couple of feedback which we got was, especially people who were moving vegetables from point A to B, especially when there was a hard section in the way, they got a better opportunity to figure out how to plan for a storm going by with load in the truck. So there were a couple of interesting feedbacks and use cases which we could discover, on which we are further deliberating with these companies. So we have done a few projects with Ministry of Agriculture. We did one with Niti Aayog for aspirational districts to figure out how could we do a weather advisory for common crops which they grow. Last year we did one with the Ministry of Agriculture on the whole Kharif type farming to again give weather, especially rain advisory to farmers in 4 districts. We are also engaged with Government of Karnataka to do a price and yield prediction for tomato and maize in 4 districts. So those collaborations are on, and I think we find the government very, very keen to understand these technologies. And I think the good news is that with all the startup function, with pandemic, there's a lot of enforcement on automation. So what I'm seeing is that digital efficiencies are coming in every way. I mean, we saw it in payments, we saw it in e-commerce. All this while it was more about product warehousing, shipping, and supply chain. But with pandemic and labor force migrating more to the villages, we certainly see a need of an automation well understood on the agri side. I think the big farm thing for us is focus on FPOs, and I think you very, very reasonably asked that question, and enabling the technology companies to have a right partner with right data and commitment to the market as far as weather, soil, and other national parameters are concerned. A lot of clients come with different problem statements. So we'll have a automotive equipment company who would want to know what is the yield forecast for the year for all over India, so that we plan our sales of tractors, for example. Or someone would say, look, we have to look at price sensitivity in commodities. So we want to understand whether the soybean situation get repeated or cotton situation will be saved, etc. So those are service opportunities which we will look at, because at times we look at the roadmap of a product, how we look at the volume demand of those capabilities. And as and when we sort of zero on that, then we looked at the productization.